Most players think promotion means one thing, queen. But sometimes the queen is the wrong piece. Today I've got 6 positions where the winning idea is under promotion. Promoting to a rook, bishop or knight instead of a queen. This is exactly why this tactic is so dangerous. Position 1 is Anatoly Karpov versus Jan Timman from Brussels 1986. Anatoly Karpov was the 12th world champion and held the title for 10 years. Jan Timman was a World Championship finalist, one of the strongest Western players of his generation. This position shows the most important idea behind under promotion. The natural move looks like a queen promotion, but the precise move is different. In positions like this, question is not can I promote? So here in this position, Timman just played queen e1. His idea is simple, he wants a draw, and he's coming for perpetual like queen b1 and queen a1, and that's it. The game would be simple draw. And here it's white to play, and it looks great to make a queen. And if white decided to make a queen on d8, that is actually a blunder because Timman got perpetual and there's nothing Karpov can do, and black can simply start the game with queen b1. After king goes to a3, there's a queen b1, the game is draw. But threefold repetition. There's nothing Karpov can do about it. So that is why instead of making a queen, the move was let's promote a pawn and make a knight. The reason it's coming with a check, and if you have already seen, white was already having two pieces around the black king, and now he got the third piece into the attack. And Timman can't do anything about it because he only got a queen. And here played the game for few more moves, but eventually Karpov easily win the game. Now let's go to the next one. Hello everyone, I'm Aniket, an Arena International Master, and this is Chess Tactics episode 13. This series is focused on practical patterns that win games, not fancy puzzles. Today's pattern is under promotion. Under promotion means promoting a pawn to something other than a queen. In practical games, this tactic appears when queen promotions allows a defense, misses a tactic, or simply does not control the right square. So the key lesson is simple. When your pawn reaches to the last rank, do not go on autopilot. And there's a reason why you have 4 options, not only queen. Let's start with a simple example. So here we got this position where black is the one who is having 10 extra points of material, and black is coming for white king and about to give a checkmate on a2. That's it. Black is saying, I won the game, good game, and I will see you in the next one. But unfortunately, Black has something which he can do and he would be winning. The idea is, if you try to push a pawn and make a queen, it's unfortunately lost. Queen takes a2 checkmate. So that is clear, you cannot make a queen now. So if you cannot make a queen, what other options do you have? So if you see, the king is having no options to move. So if somehow you are able to give a check to the king, the game would be over. So that is the reason white can simply make a knight. And whenever you will make a knight, it will lead to simple checkmate and the game over. White has won the game without even having a queen. That is why under promotion is not being flashy. It's about being precise. Now let's go to position 2. Position 2 is Wely versus Mamedyarov from 2004. Wely has won the Dutch Championship 7 times and one of the top Dutch players for many years. Mamedyarov later crossed 2800 and one of the greatest players from his own country. This position is a very practical one. The obvious promotion is tempting, but the correct move solves the position much more cleanly. That's often how anti-promotion works in real games. You're not looking for a pretty move, you're looking for the only move that removes all the problems. So here, in this position, queen got attacked. And here, Mamedyarov played g1 knight. It's simply a check, and now king has to move. And king got some options. If king go back to f1, you can simply take the bishop on d3 with check, and after king will take the knight, we will get this position where black is completely winning. So that is why after g1 knight, white decided king d2, and here black is completely winning, and Mamedyarov continued the game with queen c6, and eventually he won the game after few moves. But now let's see if you don't make a knight and if you decided to make a queen. So if you play g1 and make a queen, that is actually a blunder because now bishop will take the queen, and after you take on b5, the game is just equal. Both players are having queen on the board and there are 5 pawns each side and nothing is happening. The game is just equal. And that is why making a queen is not the best choice always. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 3 is Hikaru Nakamura versus Vladimir Kramnik from Istanbul 2012. Hikaru was one of the top American players of his era and known for his speed. Kramnik was the 14th world champion, the player who dethroned Kasparov in classical chess. This is one of the best examples in the video because both players were nearly 2800. Even at that level, under promotion still matters. Here, if you haven't seen already, pawn is about to become a queen and the bishop is making sure that king cannot stop. And if you see the black pawns, pawns are stopped by white king. So that is why Hikaru continued the game with c7. And if you see, the pawn is making sure that king cannot go to d8 and the bishop is making sure the king cannot go to d7. Pawn and bishop has made an invisible wall which Kramnik king cannot cross. And here, Kramnik continues the game with e2. If you decided to make a queen, that is actually a blunder. And now, black is simply gonna win the game and it just checkmate in 6 moves. Because whenever he will make a queen, it will come with a check. And in few moves, white king is going to be in trouble. So that is why after e2, you cannot make a queen. What Hikaru did was, he made a knight. It simply come with check and after king f6, he simply take the pawn and they continue the game for few more moves but eventually Hikaru easily won the game. Now let's go to the next one. If you're serious about improving and want structured training instead of random puzzles, I work with students personally. The link to train with me is in description. Now let's continue. Position 4 is Peter Svidler versus Vladimir Malakhov from 2009. Peter Svidler is an 8-time Russian champion. Vladimir Malakhov was known for very accurate play and is already 2700 player. This position teaches a very important practical habit. When your pawn is one step from promotion, do not instantly assume the queen is the best. Sometimes the smaller promotion is the move that keeps control. Sometimes it's a move that finishes the tactic immediately. So here, black pawn has 3 choices. He can take a rook and promote, he can push and promote, and he can take the knight and promote. When you promote, you have 4 more options. So now, in this position, black is having 12 different options with just one pawn move. And yes, it's very easy to blunder the game here because here, if you decided to take the rook and make a queen, you already lost. Game over. Now white is the one who is gonna deliver a checkmate in 6 moves. Idea is bishop takes f7 check. And if rook decided to take on f7, then queen takes on f7. And after king h8 is a queen f8 check, king h7, rook f7 check, king g6, queen g8 check, king h6, rook h7 simple checkmate. There's nothing black can do about it. So that is why in this position you cannot take a rook and make a queen. But you can take a rook and make a knight. And this is what Vladimir did. And it comes with a check. And here, in this position, Peter simply resigned the game. Point was, whenever Peter will take the knight, there's a queen f2 check, and if king go to h1, there's a knight g3 checkmate. That's it, game over. And after knight check, if Peter decided to not take the knight, he can simply play king h1. That is also not safe because black can simply start his attack with knight g3 check, and after king h2, there's a knight takes f1 check, king h1, and now knight g3 check again, and after king h2, queen f2 will simply lead to checkmate. And Peter can clearly see that whichever variation he will choose, his king is about to die, and that is why after knight check, he simply resigned the game. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 5 is Aronov versus Anatoly Karpov from 1962. Anatoly Karpov later became world champion and one of the greatest endgame and positional players in chess history. This position is useful because it shows that under promotion is not always about attack. Sometimes it's simply the most exact way to convert. This is what strong players do better. So here we got this position where it's Karpov to play and it looks like Karpov is clearly winning because he can make a queen and he's just simply winning. The problem with this move is there's a knight f3 check and the game is simply draw. So that is why after this knight e1, you cannot make a queen. So what Karpov decided to do is he made a knight. If you decided to make any other piece than the knight f3 will be very dangerous. But fortunately, knight cannot fork the other knight. And now he got 2 minor pieces against 1 minor piece and after a few moves, he simply won the game. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 6 is Bent Larsen versus Muñoz from World Student Team Championship 1957. Bent Larsen was one of the strongest non-Soviet players in the world, a 6-time Danish champion, multiple candidates player, and here playing as white. This final position is a great reminder that under promotion can appear in sharp practical movements even between strong masters. The move is easy to miss because queen promotion looks so automatic. But that is a trap. The strong move is not always the biggest looking move. And here black is completely winning. And in this position, black played f1 knight, which comes with check. And here Larsen simply resigned the game. Before I explain, let's see what happens if you make a queen. So here, if you make f1 queen, that is also winning. You just need to be careful of one variation which looks very dangerous for black. Here, it's not coming with check, and white can simply start with knight takes g6 check, and if by mistake black decided to move the king on f7, here he will clearly lose the game because of knight f8 check, and after king g8 is a queen h7 checkmate. And obviously there's a way to not fall for it. You need to be careful, but that is why Monov decided to make a knight, give a check, and here Larsen resigned the game. Point is, if he decided to play king h1, is a knight g3, which comes with a double check, and after king g2 is a rook e2 check. Queen has to give up here. Queen takes e2 check, king g1, which will simply finish the game. Queen takes c5 check, and after rook blocks on d4, queen takes on d4, and that's simple checkmate. So that's under promotion. Point is simple. Best promotion is not always a queen. Three things to look for. First, whether queen promotion allows stalemate or some defensive resource. Second, whether a knight, rook, or bishop controls a key square better than a queen. Third, whether a smaller promotion gives a cleaner tactical finish. This matters a lot in practical games because promotion is one of those moments where players stop calculating and start reacting automatically. And this is exactly why under promotion wins games. It punishes autopilot. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more practical tactics and comment which position was the hardest and tell me which under promotion idea stood out most to you. I will see you in the next one.